Hey, John here. Here's lick of the day number 13. This one is a stretchy pentatonic legato thing in D minor. As usual, you can find the tabs in the description below and also somewhere here on the screen. I'm just going to play through one slowly and then break it down. So we start here on the 13th fret of the high E string. We're using this standard pentatonic position in D minor, but we're also adding an extra note, and that's the stretchy part of it. It shouldn't be too bad though, this high up on the fretboard, but if it is, feel free to transpose it to other keys first, so you don't hurt yourself. All right, so if you know this pentatonic position, basically what you do, you add an extra note on each string. The thing with these kind of stretchy positions though is that you have to be a bit careful with the sequences you play, if you don't want a repeated note, that is, because that's kind of what happens when you do this. Which can be, you know, can sound cool as well, but in general, I'm not a huge fan of that repeated note sound, so you kind of have to arrange your sequences accordingly. All right, so this sequence then, we number the notes from left to right as we usually do. So 1, 2, 3. The actual sequence will be 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. So again, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. And if you're new to my lick series here, when I show something like this, I'm not talking about the fingers, I'm just talking about the notes from left to right. I think that's the easiest way to explain a sequence. So again, 1, 2, 3, and then the sequence is 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. Then we'll repeat that on all 6 strings. The only thing here that's might give you trouble if you're not used to it is that I'm not using any picking at all after the first string. So I just pick the first note, and then I hammer on from nowhere to all the first note of each string. So hammer-ons from nowhere is a really useful technique because you can really give you that super connected legato sound, but also it frees you up to do other stuff with your right hand, so it can be a good thing to use whenever you want to incorporate some tapping, for example. But it will also help your timing a lot by working on this in terms of the legato playing. So it's well worth working on. Anyway, so once you've done this, you go to the next string, same fingering. Next string I use the second finger. Some people would prefer the third. Doesn't really matter. I think the second finger though is probably better in this case because the next string here makes the most sense to use the second finger as well. So you can see it is kind of an inverted pattern of this one. So here we have a minor third and a whole step, and this one we have a whole step and a minor third. So then the same thing on the next string. And then the next string, since it's the E string again, we have the same fingering. Then I slide down to the flat 7. Just give it a slight bend to end the note. All right, so again from the beginning. And as far as practicing this, it would be a good idea to just do it string pair by string pair. So if you do the E and B string first, and you just go between them. And one thing that can help here in the left hand is to try to get the first 2 fingers on each string down at the same time as much as you can. So in this case, if you keep track of the index finger and the third finger, when I go to the B string and back to the E string again, you can see that even though I'm not using the index finger right away, I try to get it into place as soon as possible. So because then that will ensure that you always have that next note to pull off to. So I would work on this, like I said. Then you do the next string group. Next one. And so on. And it's like a really good idea to do this with different subdivisions as well. So a subdivision is just how many notes you play on each foot stomp, or whatever the beat is. So if you go, if you look at this lick, we have 6 notes per beat. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But if you do that in 16th notes, which would be 4 notes per beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You will feel that it's a bit harder at first because it's not as intuitive, because when you have 6 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's kind of easier to know where you should be. But when you do 16th notes, it's going to even out after you've done 2 strings. You're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So after 2 reps here, you're going to be back where you started. So so that's much better for your timing, because it's a bit trickier. And also it will help you with evenness between the string crossings, because when you do any type of subdivision that sort of gets you from one string to the next, meaning that the beat is always on a new string, it can be easy to miss that you're not as even as you think. So it might be that you rush the last note on each string, for example. So you go like, or you get a bit of a gap. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it can be hard to pinpoint that when you play it, faster. And then you might not know why it doesn't sound as fluid as you want it to. But that's a sort of a thing that happens a lot. But if you do that with 16th notes, you're going to be way easier for you to hear when you're out of, when the rhythm is not on point, and then it will be easier to fix. And then that fix will hopefully stay in place when you go back to the original subdivision. So I found that the best way to improve legato technique is really to work on the timing a lot. So don't miss out on that. All right, so after that you've done that, or as you do all this stuff, one thing you can do is just take hold the same shape, move it up and down the fretboard, but don't go further down than you can handle it. You don't want to hurt yourself, like I said. And that's a really good way to practice, but also applying the same sequence in the remaining 4 positions. Since it's a pentatonic scale, we have 5 possible starting points, right? So if we move it up to the next position, it would be this one. So I'm just going to show you this one, and then I'm going to let you figure out the rest. So we got 17, 15, 13. Next string we have, 18, 15, 13. So, and then the next string we have same shape, but 1 fret down, because we have to compensate for the B string. So we get 12, 14, 17. And then we have 12, 15, 17. Same fingering on the next string. And then the same fingering on the low E string as we have had on the high E string. So sequencing a lick that you learn this way is really beneficial for a number of reasons. First, you get to practice it in different ways, and you can see how it can be applied to different positions, which is obviously way better than to have a lick that you have to do in a certain position all the time. That's not very conducive to, free and more spontaneous improvisations. And secondly, you get different sounds. So if you do this with a lick that you learn from anywhere, and then you sequence it like this, you might find that, the third position sounds better than the one that the original lick was in. So that's a really cool thing. So you can experiment with that stuff a lot. And like I said, this will help you with your fretboard knowledge as well as your technique. So give it a try if you haven't tried it before. All right, so that's it for this one. If you have any questions, just post them below. Otherwise, have fun with this one and see you in the next one.